Greetings and welcome to Any Questions. A question was asked the other day of me that is really perfect for this time of year, and that was how do I avoid losing it with my mother during the holiday season? And this obviously can be extended to any members of our families or people close to us that we come in contact to over the holiday season. It's really quite perfect because as we move into the winter season, as we cross the threshold of the winter solstice, we're in the deepest and darkest part of the year and moving towards light. Right now, we're in the deepest part of the year before the solstice, and that turning back from the dark inner part of the cycle towards the light. The voyage that we undertake from the autumn equinox to the winter solstice is one of internalization of, I'm translating from French, of going inside. And inside of us, what we find is all of the programming related to our lineages, everything that we've inherited, all of the unconscious belief systems and mannerisms and behaviors and survival strategies that we've learned from our families. And so if we've actually taken advantage of this movement of nature at this time and moved inward with nature, with the earth, we've probably become more aware of certain aspects of ourselves that we're unconsciously manifesting, and that come from our ancestors and what we've learned from them. And so when we come to the festive season and are in closer proximity, most of us, with our families, we have the opportunity to observe close up and firsthand the programming that we've become aware of in ourselves. And so it takes a certain preparation, maybe before the actual festivities, the actual family dinners and things like that. Some preparation is required in order to not get completely sucked into either being part of the old programming or being in angry rebellion against it. Neither is bad. Either being totally sucked in through sentiment and tradition and security of what we know. There's an enveloping feeling of being with what we know and recreating the traditions and reliving all of those situations and rituals that give us a feeling of belonging. But there can also, if we've been reflecting on ourselves and our families and the things that that no longer resonate with who we want to manifest, with the version of ourselves that we want to manifest, we can get into frustration, irritability, anger, rejection of the old patterns that we see in our families. And so the first thing, of course, is to, in terms of preparation, is to understand that as much as each one of us has the right to our sovereignty, the right to choose and be who we want to choose to be, so do our families. And very often, our families' identities are wrapped around certain forms of suffering that they're attached to, and that is part of the identity. So it's securing, and they have absolutely every right to choose whatever they want to be like, and however they choose to react. This is the very first bottom line truth, that we don't have a right to try to change anybody. That the minute we're trying to change anybody, we are also rejecting a part of ourselves, because we wouldn't be throwing ourselves into emotionally into arguing against something if it weren't something that belonged to us on some level, that we don't like about ourselves, maybe consciously or unconsciously, and that we're attempting to excise from ourselves. And so it's hard seeing it in what we consider as the source of these behaviors in ourselves, in our parents, for example, and other family members. It's important also to understand that not only does everyone have the right to be exactly as they choose to be, but also the way that they are is not the fruit of only their lives and their choices, but also of what they've inherited through time and through generations. So each one of us is a work of art that's been carefully sculpted over the generations. And so perhaps another part of the preparation is to consciously witness rather than emotionally engage. That's not necessarily the best thing for everybody to do, because it is a time when we can, through our emotions, whatever they may be, whether we like the emotions that come up or whether we'd rather not feel the emotions that come up, it's really revelatory. It's an opportunity to really understand ourselves more, to encounter, to witness these emotions in ourselves. When I speak of witnessing, I don't mean cutting off all emotion, but just, although you may be living the emotion, you can also be observing it at the same time. And that's your wisdom, that's your higher frequency manifestation that's able to witness at the same time as you're experiencing whatever emotion that you might be experiencing. So when I say that witnessing is not necessarily the best option for everyone, for some of us, we're just not in that place of witnessing yet, and the emotions will take over. But perhaps afterwards, you can step back and lock yourself in the bathroom somewhere and reflect on what just happened and what it was that the person who incited the emotion in you, what exactly they were touching about yourself that you're rejecting. Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, Festivus for the rest of us. It's this time of gathering and tradition and ritual is really an amazing opportunity for honoring our ancestors. And honoring doesn't mean swallowing everything that they believe. Honoring means seeing them clearly and receiving them in an open-hearted way, exactly as they are. And so the winter solstice, with the winter solstice, we step across the threshold of the northern gate, which is related to the ancestors, and honoring them. And honoring the wisdom and the struggle, the work that has been done by the generations and generations that have created our lives and our bodies. Honoring them in all that they have been and lived. And from that place of honoring, and through our own sovereign beings, to be able to, through clearly seeing them, and not being in any kind of rejection of them, we can then make clear decisions about how we want to manifest in our lives, and no longer be in reaction, but in that 0 point divine neutral stance of open-heartedness and inclusion and I guess this is part of returning to the light, of having gone through this voyage internally within ourselves and looking at all the stuff that we've inherited on all kinds of different levels. Having all of our emotional reactions to that, and then engaging in with our families, with all of the dynamics that are as they are, and witnessing from that neutral 0 point space, which is a place of peace and harmony and balance and inclusion. And from that place, we are, in a sense, turning back towards the light. And the period between the winter solstice and the spring equinox is a time of gradually, consciously choosing how we're going to manifest in the world. The image related to this is a bear who has, through the autumn and winter, descended into the depths of her cave and digested everything that she has assimilated and consumed during the spring and summer out in the world. So the digestion process is that of reflection and making it ours in the sense of understanding how what we have attracted to us during the time in the outside world in the spring and summer is related to deeper patterns that have been unconscious that we've learned. And so this time, this voyage in the darkness, in the dark of the year, is to render the unconscious more conscious. And then as the bear turns at the winter solstice and starts making her way out to the opening of the cave again at the spring equinox, she begins maybe to shed some hair and it's a time for us as we walk towards self-manifestation again. It's a time of taking off grandma's hat and that really heavy overcoat that you've been wearing and shouldering that belongs to who knows who, but it's been passed on to you through the generations. And it's getting a little too heavy and too tight. Shedding those things. Maybe taking off the shoes that pinch. and really deciding who you're going to be. How honestly and clearly you're going to manifest yourself in the outside world. So this is the path for the next little while. And the time of the holiday season is perfectly in sync with the natural cycle of life and our process, our evolution, our moving towards ourselves. I think that's all I want to say. And I'll speak to you again next week. Blessings, blessings, blessings.